Howdy, y'all. You're tuning into Geaux Howdy, the Southern Sports Talk podcast with Jerry.
Get rid of Brian Kelly. He's not a good fit at LSU. This is exactly what we expected. Fools.
Cody.
He's efficiently good at not getting first downs.
And Kyle.
It was like any minute somebody was just going to like rip the mask off and their Jimbo was going to pop out like, haha, here I am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Ho, ho, ho.
No, wrong holiday, sir. You jumped the gun yet again. But welcome into the Geaux Howdy studio. We are officially, gentlemen, we are live on YouTube on the Geaux Howdy studio. So thank you for anybody and everybody that is out there. This is our second run at this live streaming thing, so please bear with us and give us, we have some technical difficulties we're working through from time to time. But first and foremost, from everybody at the studio, we would like to wish all of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I know myself, we had a great day with the family. Gentlemen, how was your Thanksgiving so far?
It has been quite nice, quite calm, no extended family. It was pleasant. It was nice.
Yeah, it's very. I feel like as I get older, Thanksgiving becomes one of those holidays that, you know, you have a lot of obligation on, but man, it's so worth it just to get the food. Like everyone becomes an expert chef on Thanksgiving to me. It's hard to go wrong.
I agree. We had a lot of food. I actually ate way too much today. I had 2 plates instead of 1. The second plate was probably a bad idea, but it just felt right at the time. I definitely enjoyed my 2-hour power nap that I took. I woke up just in time to watch some of the Cowboys and the Giants. So it was a good time. Got 2 more planned coming up over the next couple days. This family will be on the road and seeing everybody, putting lots of miles in, eating lots of food. But that is not what this episode is about, although we are very thankful for the holiday. We are here to talk about the last week, unfortunately, of the regular season. But with the last week comes Rivalry Week. I wanted to make sure I pronounced that correctly and didn't mess that up. But it is Rivalry Week. For myself, I am ecstatic through the roof because it has been 13 years in the making. And gentlemen, I need it like I need to breathe. Okay? I've got to have this win on Saturday. I cannot explain to you how bad I need this. It has been...
Y'all can't really afford to lose this one. Like this is the sad reality of Rivalry Week. A Rivalry Week?
Why
is that? Yeah, you guys are in a position where I don't feel like, even though the season you're not going to the playoffs, sure, whatever. It does feel like you're not going to be able to salvage the season without a win. Like it's just going to feel like nothing was worth it if we can't bring down Texas, right?
So I absolutely 100% agree. I have been on the edge of my seat with it as well. I am very much looking forward to this. I was thinking like, oh, maybe I can just deck myself out in as much Aggie apparel as I could and try to do my best Midnight Yell leader impression. They didn't come up with anything. I mean, the jokes were going to be way cornier than what they could come up with, but I am praying that the Aggies don't do the Aggie thing and just forget how to finish the season out. Because that seems like it always happens. You have a great game middle of the season, and then just the rest of it's just kind of...
I mean...
I like the hand motions.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's this meme going around on Twitter where it's like a guy riding a roller coaster and he's getting up to the top of it and there's no more roller coaster at the end of it. So he just like goes off the cliff and it's like Aggies football season starts in the preseason hype and, you know, pre-conference schedule. We're doing good. We get to the middle of it and then all of a sudden it's like, dang it, there they went. Like we do this every year. We just build straight on up and then all of a sudden it down to the bottom. So gave a little preview of that last week, you know. I mean, with Auburn, we gave a little preview of that. So hopefully we don't do that again.
So what talking like the real real deal. What does A&M need to happen to win this game? Give me like a top two. Top two things. If these two things happen, A&M is in a position to shock the world.
They can't start slow, and
agreed.
they need to have a performance like maybe against who was it? Like if they have a performance similar to what they had against Mississippi State, I think they're going to be in a world of trouble.
I want second half Texas A&M from last week. I think that team comes out in the first half of this game, and well, for the whole game, hopefully, and Texas has a problem.
Yeah, I'm even thinking maybe the same team that showed up against Missouri would be nice, where they just absolutely went out and smacked Missouri in the mouth and made them like it. And, I think it goes without saying that Kyle Field's going to be rocking. I've got some people inside that know there's probably anywhere from 110, 115,000 tickets that have been sold for this game. That includes standing room only. So, Jerry, I know when you and I went to the LSU game, the concourses were busy, right? But we could walk through. Yeah. We could make our way through to the concession, bathroom, blah blah blah.
Didn't feel claustrophobic.
Don't expect that on Saturday. I would expect you're going to have to shoulder to shoulder and fight your way through the crowd to get to anything that you need. And it's going to be a wild, game day, obviously coming in, starting it off. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, working Wednesday, driving the roads to College Station, it's already started. You can watch planes coming in. The traffic's already getting bad. So
it's so bad.
I'll be back out there tomorrow and Saturday. It's going to be a madhouse.
So I have a proposition for you guys. You know how there's that old saying that to get something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. Y'all need to lock the yell leaders up. It'll intimidate them, and the fan base will go nuts, wondering where they're at. They won't have to be led in these weird chants. They can just go, look, you'll be just like Tiger Stadium in the swamp. Now you're cutting them loose, let them do their thing, and I don't know, man. I kind of feel like it softens y'all up a little bit in the eyes of Texas. They look at that sideline, and they're like, we can beat these guys. This school follows that. We can do this.
I don't know. I mean, you're not wrong. The yell leaders have been a laughing point for a lot of fans outside of College Station.
Can't watch them.
But dude, and you know me, I feel like that Tiger Stadium and the atmosphere, when it's a rocking game, it's second to none. The game that A&M had against LSU this year, that stadium was rocking. We were actually feeling the stadium move, and it was, the energy was electric. I can't imagine what it's going to be like this weekend, because not only is it a renewed, probably one of the best college football rivalries out there, but it's one that has a major implication, not only for the SEC, but the college football playoff as well. There's a lot on it.
I have a question about that, because I had heard something I need it confirmed. Does the winner for sure go to the SEC championship?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, and in that case, how does that change? Because it's against Georgia no matter what, right?
Correct.
That's locked. That part locked is rock solid, no matter what Tech manages to pull off. But does that mean A&M would be there's no way. They can't be in a position to go to the playoff.
Yeah, no, 100%. If they win the SEC championship game, they are the automatic qualifier.
But I thought it was the highest ranked automatic qualifiers. No, I thought they got rid of the power. This is where I got confused, because I heard it the other day when they were on the ranking show. They said, remember, it's not an automatic from the Big Five anymore. It's now top 5 conference qualifiers. Mm-hmm. So it's whoever has the highest top 5 ranked or top 4 ranked go in. So if, for example, I don't know, who could be a weird champion of their conference? Boise State. If Boise State finishes ranked ahead of the Pony Express, would they not go?
That's correct. So from what I have read, and this is coming from the NCAA website, include the 5 highest ranked conference champions.
Yeah, so
which
no,
will receive automatic bids.
yeah, so not the Power Five doesn't matter anymore. So if the SEC has a low ranked, like 20th champion, they can potentially the SEC championship might not go.
Right. I think that's
think you're actually right.
There's been some confusion. Obviously, first year doing it, but they drilled it into our heads very early on in the season. It was like the first week of the season. Every commercial break, they talked about the playoff, the new 12-team playoff format, and they always worded it as the 5 highest rated conference champions. There was no like it's the Pac-12, the Big 12, the SEC, Big 10. It was always the 5 highest rated conference champions. So there is still a possibility that A&M wins Saturday. They go on and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, and they are the SEC champions. And I mean, you would think if they go on to beat Georgia, that would propel them pretty highly up into the standings, where it's a possibility they might get in. They might even take that 12 seed, and have to go on the road in that first game. But it's not a given that they're going to get in. No.
So that's chaos we could be looking forward to. Now, look, they would have had to have beat number 3 Texas to do that. So that automatically is going to bring them up 8 spots. They'll be 12th in the country if they beat Texas, going in against Georgia. And if they beat Georgia, yeah, that's going to just spill them over into there. But it is fun to think that in another world, that South Carolina versus Texas A&M or something like that, and they're both in the low 20s in the championship. There could be a missed SEC champion.
So let me read this here. So according to NCAA, explaining the college football playoff here, and I'll even pull it up so y'all can see as well. It says, unlike college basketball's tournament, automatic bids won't be given to every conference championship for the playoffs. For the automatic spots will be given to the 5 highest ranked conference champions, no matter the conference. Those 5 automatic qualifiers are dependent on how the college football playoff selection committee ranks the conference champions in the top 25. The 4 highest ranked will be seeded 1 through 4, no matter where they rank in the final college football playoff.
Yeah, and they get a bye, I think, too.
Yeah, I believe the first 4 get a bye. Let's see. So, for example, the 4th highest ranked conference champion might be ranked only number 8, but as the 4th highest conference champion, that team would get the 4 seed. Ooh, that's actually kind of interesting. So there's a potential that Tulane, if they don't get upset tonight, they would be ranked higher than Texas A&M. And if A&M and
I think Boise State's the interesting one because Boise State is currently the conference leader. No, for the not Boise State for the American. It is Tulane. Tulane and Army, I thought, were the 2.
Yeah. That's correct. So there is a possibility that Tulane will win this game, win their conference, and be a higher ranked than a potential Texas A&M SEC champion, and Tulane would get the higher seed than A&M. Man, I know that we talked a little bit about like the selection committee. I wouldn't want to be on the selection committee. This is confusing.
Yeah, that's where you want computers just to do that part of the job for you. Just like, hey, tell us who the top 4 are.
What was that?
I said that part of the job.
You want the computers to tell you who are where they should be ranked? Interesting. Okay.
No, I said just select them.
No. I heard what you said. Everyone heard it.
Also, I got something on that too. If we will ever bring that conversation back up, but we need to get back to Texas A&M because this is obviously for that reason could be one of the most important games in the country. The SEC has been getting hate all year for being inundated in the top 25. If they upset Texas and upset Georgia, are we just sending 2 at-larges potentially? If the ranking squad just assassinates Texas A&M?
Well, so a lot of people are saying regardless of how Georgia performs, they're already assuming that they're going to be Georgia Tech. And if Georgia performs, if Georgia loses in the SEC championship game, that they should not be punished. They should not drop in the rankings, and they should still be one of the one of the SEC teams in the college football.
Yeah, the old Lane Kiffin strategy, huh? It's like where he said that it's better to just not go to the championship.
Right, and he's 100%. So it's ultimately up to the college football playoff committee to say we are done with the rankings as of the final, like as after this weekend, and then that way it freezes everyone in place, and then it goes based off of the conference champions, and then it goes from there. That seems like the only fair way to do it.
That's kind of how basketball does it, isn't it? Like they freeze them and let them play their tournaments, and then they play their conference tournaments, and whoever wins that gets the automatic bids. And then after they look at the conference performance and be like, your season plus your conference, this is kind of what we think you are. Here's your 64 other 60 plus bids to come to the championship.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but at the same time, like you have 64 teams now can go to the big dance, and you have a conference playoff before the NCAA playoff or bracket. So I mean, there's a little bit more wiggle room with it, but I think you're ultimately correct. It's still kind of like, okay, we freeze everyone here. Show us what you got. Be the first four in, first four out. That kind of stuff for like the bubble teams. But it's going to be interesting. This will obviously, with this being the first year of a 12-team playoff, they have to set a precedent and they have to set it. They have to be correct about it. So it'll be interesting.
It's interesting. And another point, just to back it up, is when they do the previews every week on Tuesday, the conference champions aren't locked in just yet, because they haven't played the conference championship game. So they're guessing just as much as anything. When you see I believe the Arizona State was on the last one, if I'm not mistaken, because they were kind of predicting they might win the Big 12, but they don't know, right? So that 12 seed's going to change. And then what happens if Georgia does get upset? I agree. They should probably stay in the playoffs, but here we go. Now we get back into that element of you're going to have Georgia's got one loss for sure. So they'd be a 2-loss. I mean, do you take a 2-loss team that didn't win their conference, being that they're the SEC? Would you do the same for the Big Ten team if they make their conference and they lose and that's now their second loss? I don't know, man. I know one thing. For as much as we went off on the college football playoff selection committee the other day, I don't want any part of it because I don't know how you're going to do it.
No, not at all.
I really don't. I don't know how you're going to get this right. Somebody's going to be mad. Here's another situation that we may see play out even this weekend is that take a team like South Carolina, right? They're about to go play Clemson. What happens if they beat Clemson? They're a 3-loss SEC team. They're going to miss their conference championship game. But at that point, obviously they started the year bad, but they got better as the year went on, right? Upset us coming into their place. They've taken down who was the other team they upset just the other day?
They had LSU. They had 12 points wiped off the board. That game is still talked about by some people today.
So LSU,
because without that, we're talking South Carolina goes for sure almost.
And then you got Alabama as well, right? I mean they lost on a really bad in sequence there to the game against Alabama, so they could be your SEC champion. They're not, but they beat Missouri. That's right. So they upset Missouri the other day. So you've got this team who's been rolling along now towards the end of the season, but they're going to have 3 losses.
I don't even want to call it an upset. I think South Carolina this year matured into a team that I would call easily one of the best seasons. They had, as a program, had one of the best seasons of anybody. They were in the SEC. They survived. They not only survived, they advanced. They took down some giants. They had some bad moments, but they performed in a way that I don't think anyone saw.
I know we didn't see it because I thought we put the head coach on his name. I've completely lost it.
Beamer.
Beamer. Thank you. I think we had him on the hot seat.
I was telling everybody how much of a gimmick he was and how he needed to be fired at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
and now here
I promise you now, Alabama fans are begging for him, I bet.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh, that'd be so amazing.
Yes.
I would love it so much.
DeBoer goes down in year 1. They just cut their ties and they go out and hire Shane Beamer. Wow.
Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me at all.
What a time that would be. But gentlemen, we do have a full schedule here of SEC games that we get to run down. So I believe this week I'm just going to go in order as the games as they're going to be played on the television on Saturday. Some of them on Friday. Excuse me.
Yeah, let's say we got some Fridays.
I did not differentiate that one, so excuse me on that. But let's just start at the top here. First one, I've got a game that could have some playoff implications if Vanderbilt gets to again play home wrecker and take down Tennessee, who's currently ranked number 8 in the rankings. Would that be enough to keep Tennessee out of the playoff?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Not even a question about it. I mean, even though Vanderbilt is seen as a good team this year, it's still a 6-5 team. Tennessee is still favored by 11 points. Now, granted, it's the ESPN betting spread. But Tennessee's on the bubble right now. They're the 8th seed. That's not great.
Yeah, and this is the game they can't lose. Like this, they lost to a bunch of teams this year that I thought they honestly. Tennessee has a roster that should have went undefeated. Arkansas never should have been a loss, and Georgia shouldn't have acted that way that game. They should have at least made that look a little bit better. Florida, they kind of escaped with. I'd say Bama was actually a good game. I liked that game, but. Yeah, they are definitely being stared at the most. They are in the crosshairs for sure. If I'm Tennessee, this is a high-pressure game. Like, you have to come. It might be even a lot of pressure, overpressure here. Vanderbilt, though, I just think they're out of gas. Like, I think they gave it their all throughout the season. I think they emptied it all. They had opportunities to jump back in that LSU game, and they looked so flat. Like, they could not be explosive.
I disagree because this is a good chance for Vandy to play upset again, because the one thing that I believe all of us can agree on is LSU's offense is better than Tennessee's offense.
No.
Like Tennessee has the better rushing game, but they don't have the better passing game.
Doesn't matter. Their offense as a whole, based on the rushing game, is better than your entire offense. Like, Tennessee is significantly a better offense than LSU this year. They are better at blocking. They're better scheme-wise. They're better efficiency-wise. I can't believe you just said what you said. Like, I have to look at some stats right now.
I think Vandy's defense is better suited against a Tennessee offense than they were against an LSU offense.
Statistically talking, it's just not looking good. Yeah, based off of what covers.com puts out, they don't hold an advantage anywhere over the Tennessee offense. I mean, it's really, really one-sided. Yeah. Now, again,
LSU's offense is not fantastic this year.
Correct. And obviously, when you look at the differences between Tennessee and LSU is that Tennessee has a Dylan Sampson who they're going to lean on. You know, they obviously didn't have to last game, right? Because it's a cupcake game, and Cody's words, fine them. But, you know,
you're not wrong.
He got a break, so he's going to be well rested coming into this game. And where, you know, LSU had a little bit of a running game, Tennessee's definitely going to lean on that in this game. So I have to agree with Cody on this one. I think Vanderbilt's pretty beat up. You know, they had their little sparkle there at the beginning of the season. You take down Alabama. You play well in a lot of games. This is, you know, not your grandfather's Vanderbilt anymore. It's a good football team that they're not just collecting paychecks now. They're actually here to compete. But it's been a long season for Mr. Diego, and he is just that kid. If he was on College Football 25, his wear and tear meter would be down to nothing right now, because that dude has done so much for this football team this year that I think he's praying, like, you know, God.
231 carries. The next closest is 83 by the quarterback.
Golly.
Nico is the next closest.
That's wild.
I'm still, Cody, you can put it down on the spreadsheet. I'm picking Vandy for this one. It's at home. It's a rivalry game. Vandy, though they lost last week, they're still playing strong. I think they're gonna catch the Volunteers with their pants down.
The thing about for my pick in
like,
this one,
who on their defense can do anything to stop them though? That's like they could barely hang with LSU, and LSU came out. Look, LSU did a better job than they did against Florida, right? They put some things back together, but it's not like LSU was very explosive that game either. Like, it was just they were better at chipping away at Vandy than Vandy was doing the same thing.
Right. I don't know. There's just a feeling I have about it.
Okay.
This Vanderbilt defense, according to the analytics here, they see on average teams rush against them about 31 times a game. Right now, Tennessee is averaging 45 rushing attempts a game. So that run defense is going to be wore down. I expect Tennessee to control the clock in this one. Nico probably has a game where he coasts, maybe does 180, couple touchdowns. Dylan Sampson's probably going to be the premier in this one. Another 150, 160, couple touchdowns. So I would love to pull for Vanderbilt because I would love to see one more SEC short episode with the Vandy Pimp, having his day in the sun.
Right.
But ever since he
I'm
went
throwing
to
that costume in
Vanderbilt,
the closet.
ever since he showed up to Vanderbilt, they have been so
They need to address that in a video one day. It's like the fan base definitely needs to put that on him because you're right. Ever since he showed up, it's been a little bit of a 180.
It's what a ride for those guys, right? I mean, they started anyway. We can get into that in another episode, but what a ride for those guys. All right, next game with potential playoff implications for both teams. Actually, we talked about a little bit in the open there, but we've got the Fighting Shane Beamers, and a guy I thought should have been fired at the start of the year is going to go take on Clemson, and what's going to be a really fun ball game, I believe. I think Lenore Sellers is going to play well like he has been all year, and Clemson has also been playing well. They started kind of shaky at the start of the year, but they've really found their stride there. So, Cody, again, I've asked the question. South Carolina wins this game. 3-loss SEC team. Were they sniffing that 12 seed getting in the playoff?
I think a lot of people like South Carolina. I think this is like not an America's team type thing, but like think about an NFL team that no one hates is doing well. Like the Lions right now. No one's upset about that. They're fun to watch. Their only rivals are very small population of the country. It's not like the Dallas Cowboys or any team like that. They don't have any intense rivalries that we think about. They're not Chicago versus Green Bay. So it's like at the end of the day, I think that if there's anyone who could sneak in when they shouldn't at the back end, it's for sure South Carolina. They have the defensive talent. Lenore Sellers can make a game interesting. That Rocket can make a game interesting. They look like a team you'd want. This is the ratings team. People are going to watch because they're going to be like, oh, I heard the South Carolina team puts up numbers, or they put up a fierce defense, or they're exciting to watch play. They're a big play offense. Clemson, I think, is going to be like, oh, we're just going to watch Clemson go and not win again.
I mean,
so I don't know. I think the playoff committee is hoping for this so that they can flip flop them.
I mean, and flip flop them they should because they're that close in the rankings. If South Carolina does what South Carolina is supposed to do in this game and win, then they should be the number 12 in the college football playoff rankings. The only other thing that I can think of is, you have Alabama and Ole Miss ahead of them, and I don't know.
I think Ole Miss should be in at this point.
No, especially if because they only have Mississippi State left. They shouldn't move anywhere. Alabama only has Auburn. They shouldn't move anywhere. And I think because if we're going to assume the college football playoff or the selection committee is like what they were last year, and they're like, oh, we're not going to put Florida State in because they had a hurt quarterback or whatever. They're going to go by
Did you say Ohio State?
Excuse me if I said Ohio State. I thought I said Florida State.
Ohio State's the team they did let in with a hurt quarterback, and then the other one got hurt, and they won a national title.
Right, but last year, Florida State you can't go in because you have a hurt quarterback. They should be looking at South Carolina. You're above Alabama and Ole Miss because you beat a 12th seed Clemson, and your team looks better than the other two.
I got to tell you this. I agree with you, Jerry. I think Alabama is cemented in that 13 spot. I don't think they move. If they beat Auburn, I think they just tread water there. I don't care if they beat them by 100. I think after they saw that touchdownless game, it is a what have you done for me lately? And if they do anything but look at the scoreboards, like they actually watch the games, Alabama looked inept. It looked like, hey, you guys don't have an offense. I'm sorry. Whatever you did against LSU, whatever you did against Georgia, it's not here anymore. And we're going to have to take that into account.
Not to go too far on the tangent with it, but Ole Miss and Alabama both, they will need to pray that Boise State loses against Oregon State and that Indiana loses to Purdue. Because
Boise State doesn't Boise State have a conference championship they have to go to after Oregon State?
I believe so,
Yeah.
but I mean, if we're assuming that the college football playoff should stop their ranking and not hurt someone that goes to the conference championship game,
Can't find my tinfoil hat though. I don't think they're going to do that.
but I mean, they need to pray that Boise State and Indiana lose, because Clemson, and you can put this on the spreadsheet as well, I think South Carolina will beat Clemson, and South Carolina will jump over Ole Miss and Alabama to get to that 12 spot.
So let me tell you the only place you could be wrong. And it has a lot to do with a game that we haven't talked about yet. Not even Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Ole Miss needs to be assumed to win that game, right? And they should. I'm not betting on Mississippi State. I haven't bet on Mississippi State all year, and I'm not starting now. So I'm just going to say Ole Miss is going to win that game. I feel like they're a better team. I think Nolan's, is it Nolan Smith?
Sure.
The defensive tackle they have.
Walter Nolan?
That dude is phenomenal. Should be a top 5 draft pick. Like, insane. But Ole Miss is going to be watching what Florida does to Florida State. Because right now, Florida is getting AP votes. And they're becoming a better loss, a better quality loss. They just beat 2 ranked teams. They're starting to get a lot of attention. A lot of the country is looking like, hey, again, if you're looking at the games and not the scoreboard, not the schedule, not the scores, and you're like, oh, this is pre-DJ Lagway, Florida. This is post-DJ Lag. This is DJ Lagway, Florida. DJ Lagway, Florida might be a ranked team if they start at the beginning of the season. And if they beat Florida State, I think Ole Miss gets the quality loss, and they might stonewall South Carolina.
If Florida had a better opponent, which they don't.
No, I think if they look dominant, if they play like a top 25 team, like they have to blow Florida State out. Like treat Florida State like everyone else has.
Right, but the combination of still losing to Florida, Florida still not being in the top 25, and Ole Miss sitting at 8-3, you can't convince me that assuming, because I agree, we can go ahead and put this on the spreadsheet as well, Ole Miss will beat Mississippi State in my opinion. A 9-3 South Carolina team looks better than a 9-3 Ole Miss team.
Yeah, so by the way, Memphis looked like they were losing earlier too, right?
They still are. Or, I mean, Memphis is winning 27-17.
Okay.
Yeah, the Tulane just scored.
So Memphis is looking to take that game down. There's so many games. We're like leapfrogging games, but like this is the politics of the college football playoff, right? So Florida's getting 4 AP votes right now. If Louisville loses to Kentucky, I see a lot of people just dumping those votes to Florida if they dominate. Like again, it has to be a loss that makes it look like, hey, Ole Miss, we understand you played a better Florida team in the swamp, and you have a better loss than South Carolina does. But I don't know that that's even true.
What game are we on?
We're still on. It's kind of like we're doing South Carolina and Ole Miss at the same time. Because they're the ones,
Kentucky
I think.
Talked about.
But Kentucky's important because if Kentucky beats Louisville,
in that way, in this way.
yeah, this is like the multiverse in the Marvel multiverse, whatever.
So Cody, take a drink. Give us 2 minutes. Kyle,
Let's get this back on the rails here.
I'm choosing South Carolina, even though it's at Clemson. I like you said, they're playing great ball. They're playing with a lot of fire. It seems like ever since they had the loss to LSU, it's been a completely different South Carolina team. I like them. To also talk about like the as expected, Ole Miss will beat Mississippi State. Florida will beat Florida State.
I agree.
And
I think that's where we were going. We were on South Carolina, Clemson.
Yeah, I hope we're not overlooking, like as a Florida State thing. I hope they're not overlooking them because they got to go to Doak Campbell, and that's traditionally the teams don't play well against each other in their home stadiums. But this Florida State team seems decimated, like right now.
2-9. I mean, they're 2-9, and the way Florida has looked these last couple weeks, man.
Florida's really good at being everyone else's highlight reel. Unfortunately, the shoe game, the last minute plays, it's insane. Like I'm still. You talk about battered Aggie syndrome. That's what I wear every night when I go to bed.
Don't do it. Don't join us. It's not a fun time over here. It's not. Let's do some as expected, right? We talked Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I think we're all taking Ole Miss in that one. It would be fun to see Mississippi State win that one. It'd be fun, but I think
good.
Jackson Dart will actually buckle up his chin strap in this game so it doesn't come off, and they'll win this game pretty easy. Florida State, your other one. I think, the way Florida's looked these last couple of weeks, we're all going to go Florida on that one. Another one that we might say is as expected, does have maybe some implications later down the road for a certain team, but I'm looking at Louisville, Kentucky being one of those as expected games that I don't know we need to spend too much time on.
What do you think as expected? I
don't know. Who do they start at quarterback?
Yeah.
So that's been confirmed. They are not starting oh my goodness, what was his name? Yeah, they're not starting him.
Well, then give me Kentucky. The way that the backup looked against Texas, give me Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but they did say Vandergriff is being benched. They're going with the backup.
After watching the backup for a half against Texas,
3 minutes.
My question is, why was he not starting all year? I mean,
that's the same. These coaches have loyalties, dude. Like they get so in a hole with one quarter. That's the same thing with Mertz and Lagway. Like the average yards per play with Mertz was 1.3. Lagway comes in, they're 11.8 now. Like you can't tell me you didn't see this at practice. It's just they have loyalty.
Always bring it back to Florida.
I'm sorry. It's a weird time of year for us.
I mean, but yeah. I can tell you as somebody who watched a coach in Jimbo Fisher who had his loyalties, which was to Kellen Mond, which I'm not going to... I loved Kellen Mond. I know that's probably a take that not a lot of people would resonate with
bad.
Me. He was not bad. He was a good quarterback. He's got all the records at A&M right now.
He'd have to make being an A&M fan interesting. Like you had to feel like you didn't know what was showing up.
You never knew, but he wasn't flashy. You knew what you were going to get, which is a game manager. He was going to manage the game. Wasn't going to turn the ball over much. Going to have people in the right spots. But I would take Kellen Mond back in a heartbeat right now, especially in this new Colin Klein offense. I'll take him back. Not over Reed. Obviously, I love Marcel Reed. I'm not throwing him under the bus. But anyway,
getting
off track yet again. Let's get back to this. I'm taking Louisville in the Louisville-Kentucky game.
Ooh,
excuse me. No.
Take them too.
Sorry. Go back. I'm taking Kentucky because we're starting the backup. Give me Kentucky.
Okay.
Give me Kentucky.
I'm going to take Louisville just because I don't think Kentucky has the time to install a game plan for their. How do you go from not being able to pass all year to suddenly we can pass and expect to be able to do that consistently your first game? They should have made this decision way long ago. You're right, Kyle. I don't think they have it in time. I think Louisville has enough stability to probably just put Kentucky to bed.
Give me Kentucky. I like the upset. They play it tough. It's at Kentucky. I'm liking it.
Yeah, Kroger Field, baby. Next one, what do they call this rivalry game? The battle for the state line?
Arkansas, Mizzou?
Mizzou? Yeah, what do they call this one now?
Who cares?
Wow.
I'm sorry. This seems like the worst rivalry of all time. Like, what is this?
Oh, come now.
I have no investment in these two teams. I don't care. Like, you can't tell me these two teams are emotionally excited to play each other.
So, I mean, this actually has major implications if you think about it. Missouri has a chance to have a 10-win season and a win for Arkansas. I mean, yeah, they're bowl eligible, but this could change the temperature of Sam Pittman's seat if they're ending their season potentially 8-5 rather than 6-7.
I don't know. I mean, like, they've had eyes on this team the whole year. It's not like they can be like, oh, you managed to upset a team who had no future no matter what they did. You get to keep your job. Like, no, I don't think that's the way that works.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Pittman's coming back next season, even with a win. I just don't see it.
Arkansas is interesting.
It's one of those, and trust me, Aggie fans, we can resonate with this one, right? Do you enjoy your mediocrity? Because that's what we're getting with Sam Pittman right now, is that, it's here, right? We're just kind of cruising along. We're just doing our thing. Like, yeah, we're bowl eligible. We're winning a couple. We give A&M a good game every year. We give Texas a good game, but that's not what Arkansas wants. I don't know that they're a championship team by any means, but they're not just looking to scrape by bowl eligible every season. So,
I mean, you're not wrong, especially when they had a taste of how like the sweet life when Bobby Petrino was having them as like the number 3 seed.
you
I
hear
don't know.
that?
I don't know.
You hear that? It's the sound of a Harley firing up in the background. Sam Pittman's out. Bobby P comes in. I like
That
it.
would be an interesting thing to look
My
up.
God.
Has a coach ever returned to a coaching job that he
I'm
got
go-
fired from?
I'm going to ask Arkansas fans out there, and I'm asking you guys at the same time, do you think with the personnel Arkansas currently has, so the fast quarterback, the deep throws, the speedy wide receivers, the outside attack the numbers scheme, do you think Cliff Kingsbury would be a good match for this program?
Yeah.
Now, there's a name that I will always thank you for your service, sir, because, man, yeah, Cliff could really. Cliff's making his money right now with the Commanders, right? He's living his life with Jaden Daniels. Is that right? I said that.
But
I said it right.
he
this
was
time?
so much fun in college, though.
He was
Like at A&M and then at Texas Tech. I mean, he just kept the Pirates' dream alive, running the air raid. Unadulterated air raid everywhere. Like it's just constant. I love how Texas Tech is like one of those identity schools. It's like we won't hire you unless you run the air raid. We don't care how good or bad you are. Like we're just taking the air raid coaches, and that's it. But yeah, I think Arkansas should look to a coach change. I think this game will convince them that they need it. And
So it sounds like you have Missouri.
I have Missouri in this one. I don't even care
I
who the
have
quarterback
Arkansas.
is.
So,
Give me Arkansas. I mean,
Also,
the spread is only 3 points in Missouri's favor. Missouri hasn't looked good these last couple of games, even with Cook under center. There's just something about
see,
it.
I do agree with that. I think Cook might be one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the country, which means he's going to get drafted like 7th overall by the Jets or something and continue to help that franchise dive into mediocrity. But yeah, I still think Mizzou has what it takes to win this game. And I don't think Arkansas has anything resembling a complete game plan.
Kyle? There it is. I was waiting for it.
it makes an appearance every episode. The mute button. We live again. Man, yeah, I'm gonna take. Give me Missouri. Give me.
Jerry, you got Arkansas.
I got Arkansas. I'm just picking all the upsets, apparently.
It would be fun, but I see Missouri being way too much for Arkansas.
But see, I also think
this is
that
a
if
good
I
sheet.
was a part of the Arkansas coaching staff, I'm gonna put on the wall or have it on repeat what Eli Drinkowitz said about their team. Like, oh, we are a playoff contention team, and he said that maybe like 2 weeks ago. Like
Yeah.
that's a they are too big for their britches. Let's not only spoil them, but like let's make this
Like what the
embarrassing for
hell?
them.
Battle line. That's what it's called. The battle line.
That's
rivalry.
just a continuation of the boot trophy that they use with Arkansas and LSU.
Cody, do you think if and when Arkansas has both the boot and the battle line, they just stack them on top of each other?
And this is
like
why
a
this is
Power
still
Ranger?
stupid, is because there's 2 Arkansas then. They just keep making trophies of their borders. Like, what are they doing?
No, so one is an outline, one is a solid. It's like a puzzle piece. It just clicks in.
No, this is
It's like the Infinity
to me,
Gauntlet.
this is manufactured. Like, this rivalry feels fake. Like, they just want us to care about this game. I mean,
It's
I
like the
can't.
Magnolia Bowl for LSU Ole Miss.
But they are, at least their borders are there. I mean, I can understand it, I guess.
Well,
but
and Ole Miss and LSU actually were rivals before
We didn't need a
Alabama and LSU got
trophy
good
or
at the
a
same
name
time.
for it.
I think that's a new thing, the Magnolia Bowl.
Yeah, it's a new thing, and I hate it.
I don't like it either, to be honest with you. But we already talked about Ole Miss. This next rivalry has probably one of the best names of all time.
yeah,
I don't know if there's a rivalry out there that beats it in terms of names.
You stole my segue, sir. But yes, the next game.
Cody just wants to play MC every
I
now and
know.
then.
It's do we even have rules on the show anymore? Are there any rules here? What are we doing?
The best
No.
rivalry
Yeah.
in
What do you mean
college
rules?
football is Florida State.
Where have rules gotten us?
Well,
Cody, what's
that's
the name
true.
of the Florida State rivalry? I'll give you that. What is it?
The
The
toilet
name
bowl.
of it?
Yeah.
The Governor's Cup.
The Governor's Cup.
Oh,
There you go.
that's it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they call Kentucky Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, like most.
Anyway.
Is it really what they call it?
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Or something
yeah.
comparable.
Something Governor's something, yeah. Moving on. The Iron Bowl, which I think is what Cody was hinting at, maybe, as a great rivalry name. The Iron Bowl.
Wait,
Auburn, Bama?
this is saying it's called the Sunshine. We'll get to that. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Ew. No, we're not going to it. That was Florida's already had enough talk today.
We'll get to
Anyway,
that.
Iron Bowl.
Iron Bowl. Bama, coming off that extremely embarrassing loss to
Say it again.
Oklahoma.
Say it again, Kyle. Say it slower.
Extremely embarrassing loss to Oklahoma.
That's it.
The
Love it.
5-6 Oklahoma team, 5-5 Oklahoma team.
They were 5-5 at the time when they played
Okay.
Alabama. That's correct.
Yeah, so 5-5 Oklahoma takes down Alabama, and then I'm still licking my wounds over here. But Auburn takes down Texas A&M in a overtime thriller, setting up what could be Kalen DeBoer's firing. Coach Saban coming
After
out of
1
retirement.
year?
Tough. Those Alabama fans are ruthless.
Have you not seen like
What?
the message boards or anything about it?
I don't know. Actually, this is one of the only teams I don't spy on in the SEC is Bama. I need to up my game.
So
But
you know how like the fan base is limited on their the reading skills, but no, they've had the silver spoon in their mouth for so long that anything less than Nick Saban quality is like just unacceptable.
I will say this: ever since the kick six, I don't trust anybody's opinion on this game. I just don't.
I know. It's so
Like,
great though.
Anything you guys say today, I'm just boiling down to a coin flip. Like, it's all it is. Like, this is the most throw out the record books rivalry in the country. You can't convince me otherwise. In pro sports, in college sports, in international sports. I don't care if this is Madrid versus soccer fans. Please don't roast me. Who's Madrid play a lot? That's like their
Liverpool?
No, it's another Spanish team.
Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Oh.
Yes.
You
Yeah, this is like-
uncultured swines. What are we doing here?
Yeah, this is
I'm
This
talking
is the
football, not
rivalry.
Soccer.
other sports wish they had this game because how much it's like the setting on NCAA football, neutral teams. Suddenly, no matter where the talent levels are, it just comes right here.
Who are
And
you picking?
I'm gonna pick Bama because what does it matter? I'm not right or wrong. You guys aren't right or wrong on this one. I don't feel like there's any.
It matters for the spreadsheet, Cody.
I know, and that's what scares me. Is I want it so bad to be right, but I don't know what to say after last week's performances. I think I want Bama to win just to test the system a little bit to see, because I want that opinion to be right. That like they're wearing cement shoes right now. They can't go anywhere. 13, they're locked in.
You saying you want Alabama to win just to test the system? Ew.
Yes.
I like Alabama being down. I like Auburn being up. And again, a nice, good, just backyard hated rivalry. Ooh. I don't care that Auburn's 5-6. Give me Auburn. I like this.
You know what's even more surprising to me? That there's enough people in Alabama to justify 2 D1 schools.
No, that is kind of surprising.
If
Like, I've never been to Auburn, Alabama, but like it doesn't seem like it should exist.
just to help you make your decision a little bit better, take away the really bad start from Texas A&M and look at the second half against Auburn, and I think that's what Alabama's going to do to Auburn. Auburn had negative yards until the last drive of the game when they just had to pull something out to tie it up. So A&M spotted
This is a
21
coaching
points.
staff as good as what Alabama has, not score a single touchdown all game.
Oh, I hear you. Again, that's why I'm kind of in your boat when you're like, I just throw out the scripts. I don't know what to say because I think that Auburn team is still really bad, even though they beat us. I still think they're a really bad football team. I think they just caught us when we weren't looking, and all of a sudden we looked up and it was 21-0. We were like, oh,
Yeah.
crap. And I think that Bama is still a really good football team. They got a really, obviously, I mean, Kalen DeBoer is a winner. As much as we like to crack on him on this show, he's a winner and he knows how to win. And I think he's gonna, after that embarrassing, and I'll say it again solely for you, Jerry, that embarrassing loss to Oklahoma last week. I think he went into that locker room and was like, "All right, kid gloves are coming off. Here's what's fixing to happen." And we're about to right the ship for the Iron Bowl. We're going to win this thing, and we're going to try to make that loss last week go away. So I'm going to take Alabama. I think Jalen Milroe just absolutely goes off in this game, like he's done most times where he's played Auburn. I think he's the factor here.
I just don't think Auburn has the same tools Oklahoma had. Like, they have a linebacking core that can definitely spy him in a way that I think when we get to LSU is going to be relevant, but in a way that Jerry's probably going to be surprised by. But yeah, Stutzman by himself, I think, is a shutdown, is a counter to Milroe. But I don't see Auburn having that player. Like, we're talking an NFL caliber linebacker, 3-year starter, I think, right now, versus what's Auburn putting on the board for defense?
I mean, not completely wrong, but at the same time, in just rivalry week, like this is just a good I hate you kind of rival. And I mean, like we also like we say in the other games, it's a like it's not like Auburn recruits at a Mountain West level. They still recruit SEC caliber players. They still have the ability to field a very competitive team, and like what we've seen these this last season with them. Was it the season that we were expecting? No, but it still got better. They're still pretty dang good. So yeah, hard to not like, and in my opinion, not like Auburn on the upset.
Man, Jerry, you need to open a parlay. You got nothing but upsets, and if you put $50 on it, you're walking away from podcasting game forever. In fact, You might as well just go buy Barstool if it hits.
You and I will have a conversation after this podcast, my friend. Maybe you can make that happen.
I don't aid in a bet out-of-state gambling, just for the record there. All right, Kyle, can you segue us into the next game? Because I was about to do it.
Yep, you were about to take over
again. Why am I here? What am I doing? Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the next one, who is not the Magnolia Bowl, but does feature one of those teams in the Magnolia Bowl. So we've got the Tigers, who I've already seen on Twitter put out their new, well, not new, but they put out their jersey combination for this week. And did they not learn anything last week?
I mean, the white, purple, white combo is nothing new. Where I have an issue with it is that this is senior day against an SEC opponent, and historically you go yellow lids, white top, yellow pants. Come on.
Also, when you beat this team last time, when it mattered a lot, like in the national title, well, you beat them in the playoffs too. But let's talk about the time that y'all beat them in the national title game when they were supposedly one of the best teams of all time. Y'all were wearing just regular getup. Why not just reminisce and go back to that?
Right.
I think if y'all did anything, all white would have been the only thing I would have done here. But
right now, like I have heard, or I've seen former equipment managers at LSU post why we're seeing the color scheme that we are, and it's typically voted on by the seniors. So I guess they wanted this color combination. So
we did that in high school though. Like I didn't imagine they did that in college too.
Yeah, they do have some say with it. So if that is the case, then it's hard for me to be upset. But if it's something different, then I'm not a fan of it. But I digress. I honestly don't know how to feel about this game because this
is the most confident I'd ever be if I was at LSU.
Look at the stats of Oklahoma versus Alabama. Let's take a little trip through those statistics there. The where I am concerned about it is Jackson Arnold. And Kyle, we watched the game together. LSU against a rushing quarterback, typically not good. Pavia is probably the exception to that, but I wouldn't group him in the same rushing quarterback category as Reed or Arnold. And Jackson Arnold last game against Alabama, which I believe we would all agree is a better defense than LSU, 25 carries, 131 rushing yards. They also have Xavier Robinson, 18 carries, 107 rushing yards. So I know it's a broken record. If LSU's defense can stop the rushing quarterback, then we're going to be okay. Again, I have confidence in them because of what they did against Vanderbilt. Is Vanderbilt on the same caliber as Oklahoma? Maybe a slight step behind them, but I would still say that Oklahoma's a better offensive team than Vanderbilt. And that's where I'm concerned about, is seeing the maturity grow in Jackson Arnold and the momentum, the swagger that they're coming from the Alabama game into Tiger Stadium. We need to shut it down quickly and get Jackson Arnold from what we saw at the beginning of the season to make a difference. But I do think LSU will win. I think we will see another balanced LSU offensive game. And I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see a couple turnovers, because that was the one thing I was shocked to see, or to not see, against LSU Vandy, was turnovers. So give me LSU.
On that point, LSU is one of the worst teams in the country at forcing turnovers. I think only 4 interceptions on the year, and I think 2 forced fumbles on the year. They're not very good at going after the ball. If I'm right about that. No, never mind. They got a lot more forced fumbles than I thought.
Well, they're 103rd in the nation on interceptions, so you are right about that one.
Yeah, so fumbles, opposite. They're very good at fumbles. They're very bad. If the ball hits the turf, they're on it. But if the ball's in the air, they don't do much about it. Okay, I think LSU's got this one. And the reason is because Oklahoma had the kryptonite to Jalen Milroe in Danny Stutzman. That whole concept of the way they play defense, from that almost like Okie style, like, hey, it's layered, right? We have our first layer, our second layer, and our third layer, and we don't mix that. That style of defense just got Alabama, I think, locked up. I think they caught lightning in a bottle with Jackson Arnold. I don't think he's a very reliable quarterback at all. And I think LSU's can prey on the fact that, like, their offense counters what Oklahoma is bad against, which is the pass game. Oklahoma does bring pass rush. They do have a very good middle of the field defense. If LSU tries to dink and dunk, they're going to do the same thing Florida did. They're going to flow to the ball, stop you off for 2 yards, force a long third down. But at the end of the day, I don't think sane football fans can look at Garrett Nussmeier versus Jackson Arnold and say they'll take Jackson Arnold. There's just no way. And I don't think Oklahoma's defense is built to counter what LSU has to offer in terms of downfield passing. That being said, your offensive line has to be who they are supposed to be. Like, they have to be. We got first-round draft picks on our offensive line. If you guys can't secure the line of scrimmage from the passing perspective, they'll never respect the run. They'll never respect play action, and you might find yourselves in a bad situation. That being said, I think LSU has what it takes to counter that scheme they have on defense, and Oklahoma, it's a spinning revolver. You don't know what you're going to get with them, and that's too much of a gamble.
Glad you brought that up. Kyle, is Dellinger out this game, or does it look like he's off the injury list?
Right now, looking at Dellinger, he is listed as questionable with an undisclosed injury as of the 23rd.
Of November?
Yes.
Golly.
November 23rd, he was placed on the injury list as questionable, undisclosed.
I mean, he's been injured for weeks now. And from my understanding is that he could have played against Vanderbilt, but they decided to bench him again. So it wouldn't shock me to see LSU's offensive line be back at full strength. But yeah, Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know this much. I know that Jackson Arnold's going to have to throw for more than 68 yards in this game.
Yeah.
I do know that much. I do agree with Cody a little bit on, or whichever one of you, I can't remember now, kind of a flash in the pan last week from Jackson Arnold with all the rushing yards that he had. If I remember right, and y'all know I love my recruiting and, following all this stuff. If I remember right, he was a pocket passer coming out of high school. He was not your scrambling quarterback. So I think that was just unheard of what he did last week. And just looking back at his stats so far this year, he hasn't had any breakout games running the ball like that, like he did
He was
against
benched.
Alabama.
Does everybody remember that, by the way?
Yeah.
He was at one point did not have the starting job.
He was
I
benched.
mean, he was a starter and then bench and then came back.
For a scrambling quarterback. So, and I think for a minute, that was the only success that Oklahoma had was when they were running the quarterback. When they had the other gentleman in there, Hawkins, I think is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Hawkins was in there. So I don't anticipate Jackson Arnold's going to look like Jalen Milroe again in this game. I think he's going to go back to where he was, which is he's going to have to throw for more than 68 yards. I just think they kind of wasted all their emotion and energy last week because one interesting stat I wanted to look at was how they've done on the road this year. In Oklahoma, this will only be their fourth road game this year. So
Yeah, very good schedule for them.
they've
this
had
year.
a lot of favorable matchups at home. Played a lot there in the friendly confines, but they are right now 1-2 when they go on the road. They went to Mizzou and lost. They went to Mississippi and lost, and they did beat Auburn on the road. Second interception there. Also lost Mizzou on the last second fumble. So I mean, their season has been
the
very
main thing to look
up
at
and
that
down.
schedule. Texas, definitely a very similar quarterback wise, I would say, to Garrett Nussmeier. They lost. South Carolina, I mean, kind of a pocket passer, more of a scrambler, but still good.
I'd call him for sure a scrambler, a designed run scrambler.
Okay, I'll take that away from the against part. But Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, they lost. Missouri, I believe they had Cook at the time. They lost. So I mean,
Yes.
the quarterback matchup is favored in LSU's corner, but it's not a 1v1 kind of sport. It's at least an 11v11 or 55v55. So there's a lot more to it than just the quarterback.
And something else we got to talk about too is Nussmeier has to be who he was last week and not the 3 weeks prior to that. He has to be able to secure the ball. He has to be able to not throw interceptions. I think that's the big thing is Oklahoma will I think they score a very high percentage off of turnovers. They have a very good defense at punishing you when you turn the ball over, more so than Florida and Bama. So if you throw picks against them, they'll turn them to pick sixes, or they will definitely score off of them and get field position. If LSU can avoid those simple things and give Nuss the reins to just game manage this, I'm looking at all of his Jackson Arnold stats here. Oh my God. Like, he's worse than I thought he was. This is a no-brainer. Like, against South Carolina, 225 yards, 1 touchdown, and that was his most noble cause game. I'm not even going to talk about Maine. That doesn't make any sense. He was sacked 8 times against Ole Miss. Against Missouri, 0 touchdowns, 0 interception. Yeah, this guy's playing backyard ball, and he is confused and scared out there.
The big difference, though, is that those were passing situations, not rushing situations like we saw against Alabama. And I think it's going to be very similar to Arkansas. If LSU can get Oklahoma into obvious passing downs, then it's going to be an LSU win because then Jackson Arnold will do Jackson Arnold things. But Kyle, do you have the last thought on this game, or are you good to talk about Georgia Tech?
I'm just going to take LSU in this one. That's my only last thought. And I know we kind of missed this one in the as expected earlier, I would believe, with Georgia and Georgia Tech. We kind of brushed over that one, but I would think just this resurgence that we've seen out of Carson Beck these last couple of weeks. That I love my boy Haynes King, former A&M quarterback, transferred over to Georgia Tech. Love him. Glad he found a home. Glad he's doing well. Just kid had too much pressure on him at A&M trying to be the unsung hero. But yeah, I think Georgia rolls in this game and, rolls right into their SEC championship game, which let's touch on it one more time before we get out of here. We are kind of running
I guess we
short
don't
on
get a
time
say,
here.
Cody.
No, everybody's going Georgia. Forget it. Much more important game to talk about and touch on yet again, which Georgia awaits the winner of this game. Texas A&M. Again, 13 years in the making. We've been waiting on this for a long time. I have been working with some of my patients who are, old Aggies that are just throwing a fit. They don't want to play Texas anymore. I can't believe we're doing this. You've got the younger population that is like, give me Texas again. After all the trash talk, all the years on Twitter of, if we'd have had Johnny Manziel, we'd have took y'all down, and we got this.
Oh my goodness.
Finally, let's just push all the chips on the table, and let's just see what happens. And that's what's going to happen here. Kyle Field's going to be electric. We'll probably be more people in the stadium than there was for the George Strait concert, which broke the record. It's going to be wild. And the only thing that I can just, when I lay my head down these next couple of days, that I'm going to pray to the good Lord above is, please do not let this A&M team come out slow like they have, or it'll be over by halftime. And I hate to say that, but every time, and A&M will always get up for this game. 1-10, 10-1, doesn't matter. We're going to play Texas hard. And I know Elko has done a phenomenal job of preparing the boys. And I think he got caught a little bit kind of red-handed last game. His scheme, he was going more 3 down versus 4 down in the first half against Auburn, and that was not working out, obviously. Made the adjustment at halftime, but I digress. We've got to start fast in this game. We've got to come out and smack Quinn Ewers in the mouth, get some happy feet going on with the statue back there, which, by the way, Jerry, as I turn it over to you, I've got to go look at the injury report, but if we can get Quinn Ewers with some happy feet and that defense plays like we've been seeing so far this season, we're in for a ride, because Marcel Reed proved to me last week that he's not just a runner. He can
Right.
dice him up if he needs to. So let me find the injury reports. You guys go ahead.
Right, because I believe we saw at the beginning of the week that Ewers was going to be questionable because of some injury, and that this was going to be Manning.
Do we know what the injury is? Because sometimes that makes a difference.
I think it was a hamstring or leg injury. I'm not 100% certain, but I do recall that he was injured. But something that is very interesting leading up to the game, I mean, like Kyle said, the Bryan College Station area has been miserable to drive through. It's like the worst traffic. Think of all the Sunday drivers coming in from Houston, going as slow as molasses on every single street possible, and it's absurd. The average ticket price is $1,100, which is triple the cost of a normal ticket. This will break attendance records. This is going to be a massive recruiting weekend for Texas A&M. And I think the statistic that stands out the most to me is not even what's been played this season so far for either team. It's the fact that Texas has a 76, 37, and 5 record over Texas A&M. That is a massive win-loss margin. I don't think I've seen something like that.
That's pretty rough.
It's rough, but the silver lining is that in the last 6 games, they're 3-3, with the most recent one being the 2011 27-25 victory that Texas had over Texas A&M. But I like Texas A&M in this situation. It is a home game. It is at what time? 6:30. Oh my goodness. It's going to be rocking. The weather right now is perfect.
I know.
It's
This
nice
is football
and crisp.
season.
Like the fans are going to go crazy. And I like, from what I've seen this season from Texas and Texas A&M, I like Mike Elko's adjustment mid-game. I know that Sark has been able to do that with Texas, but it seems like that Texas A&M has an answer almost immediately. It seems like it's very quick, and just comparing apples to apples, like, let's see, the last time that Texas had a scrambling quarterback, I mean, we could say Florida to an extent. That one was kind of
No,
Lagway's like intro.
Lagway didn't play.
I thought that was his first game as a starter. That one.
No, he was on the
even better
bench
then.
because he was hurt.
Okay,
It was their third string quarterback from Yale.
that's right. Okay, I'm sorry, but like their other game where it was a scrambling quarterback or a scrambling potential quarterback was Arkansas, and Texas didn't look that impressive against Arkansas, even though it was. I mean, I'm sorry, it was at Arkansas not that long ago. It didn't look good. I I've liked the way that Reed has been maturing as a quarterback, as a passing quarterback, and I think that they're going to do quite well against Texas. And this is just going to be a slugfest, but give me the home field advantage. I like A&M.
So it's very optimistic of you, but I don't know. I think Texas has too many dudes this year. I think they have this offense that really punishes. It reminds me of Georgia's offense the past few years. They know how to find your vulnerabilities. They use the motion, pre-snap motion a lot. They use it better than anyone else in the country. And that leads to exposing your defense. Quinn Ewers is really good at recognizing defenses after they've shown their hand. And I don't think A&M is necessarily a bad team in this situation. I just think Texas is one of those teams this year. And I mean, like, I'm close to wanting to pick them for the national title, and it's just tough for me not to. Like, I'm trying to think of like answers A&M could have, and it is on offense. I do think that A&M has a unique offensive approach that Texas's defense needs to be ready for. But to say that your only loss is to Georgia this year, and you put up some good numbers against other teams, Arkansas made you look a little silly, but nothing's ever been in question. None of these games have ever been in question except their loss to Georgia. I just got to give Texas their due credit this year. I'm going to take the Longhorns.
You know, the thing, I guess, since we're doing this on YouTube now, for any of you Texas fans that are tuning in, this is not the same Kyle Field that y'all came to 13 years ago. You know, last time y'all came to Kyle Field, we didn't even have the section closed off. We still had the big scoreboard at the very end. So lots of change have been made.
That's right. Y'all just had the horseshoe.
That's right. It was still the horseshoe.
Right.
So this is going to be a totally different environment than what you're used to seeing at A&M. It's going to be, I would say that this game Saturday night is going to be the most electric game of the college football season. I mean, I know we've seen Ohio State, Penn State, we've seen a lot of big time matchups, but nothing is going to compare to the environment that you're going to see. A&M is going to be put on display yet again, like they were with Notre Dame, on primetime national TV for everybody to experience what the environment's going to be. There's something about this game that I think A&M is. Obviously, I'm taking A&M, but I just think that the defense is going to make Quinn Ewers second guess himself just a little bit. Now, looking at the injury reports, here's a big thing. Both Jaden Hill and Will Lee are listed as questionable, which I don't like about that because those are our two starting DBs. Chase Basantis, one of our linemen, also listed as questionable. I don't like that because that Texas front is very dangerous. Colin Simmons coming off the end, Anthony Hill playing outside linebacker. We've got to keep Reed upright. If we could keep him off the ground, because I know Texas, they've watched too much film. They're going to keep their rush lanes. They're going to keep contain on him. So he's not just going to go 1-2 and take off. That's not going to happen this game. If we can keep Reed upright, we've got a chance. Mix in, getting Amari Daniels some looks around the outside, because I don't think we're running up the middle yet again this game. I'm going to take a 24-21 Texas A&M win.
That's decided by a field goal again.
Decided by a field goal.
I can see one of the paths to victory too being that Texas A&M has a very physical defense. So even when Auburn was doing their thing, it kind of looked like when A&M was coming back and started doing the negative yards thing. Like I said, if that team shows up in the first half, I'll be happy to be wrong about this because that's going to be an entertaining game.
I mean, you have an opinion, but it's wrong, just so you know.
I don't know. So looking at the score sheet, just saying, I've been right a lot this year.
Let's give the spectators just a taste here. So far this season, I did not have you guys updated for week 12 because that's the week I was gone, and neither one of you updated your spreadsheets. But so far, yeah, you're 94-24 this year. So I'm not taking that away from you. I just.
Jerry's been just sending it. I don't know what he's been letting his cat pick it or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
First off, never would have a cat. Second,
even worse.
I've also heard that you were wrong 24 times.
How many times have you been wrong?
It doesn't matter. Jerry? I wasn't saying that I wasn't wrong. You were the one that said it.
Hey man, it's all about winning. Yeah, it's all about winning the war, not the battles.
That's right. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And I do need you guys to go update week 12, though, because after this week, we can crown an official. And don't be changing your answers.
Be honest, Jerry.
Are we changing your
I
answers?
don't even remember what I chose.
I think that's the LSU week, isn't it?
That was LSU.
LSU Florida.
Yeah.
Every week's the LSU week. What are we talking about?
It's all right. I'll go back and watch the tapes.
That's fine.
I'll get this figured out. All right. Well, we have gone through all the games. Rivalry week. It is going to be an excellent time with the Thanksgiving weekend. It's just what a time. Eating food, getting fat, laying on the couch and watching football. Who could ask for a better time? But for our second ever, because we did live stream last week, so this is our second ever live stream, we do appreciate all you being here. If the best way that you guys can support us in doing this, whatever we get to do, whatever we want to call this hour that we get together and just pick at each other twice a week, go ahead and hit your like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do plan on staying live on YouTube pretty much from here on out. So if you subscribe, then you can get the notifications of when we're going live, and that way you can be there for each and every episode for on the way out. Jerry, Cody, any last thoughts before we sign this thing off? Beautiful.
Preseason or early college football playoff rankings are stupid, and I like that we talked about it a lot, but they are stupid. I want to focus on the football, not the future football right now, because this is such a good week of football. I think it's so distracting. But yeah, I'm going to try to lock in, especially for the Texas A&M game.
As is most of the nation. As is most of the nation. So we hope you enjoy your weekend. A very happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at the Geaux Howdy studio. But for myself, for Jerry, for Cody, since Cody got mad at me at our last sign off, here's my new one. But bam! Just like that there. We will catch you guys on Sunday.